Hello, my name is Joy, and I'm currently drafting what will hopefully be my debut novel. I'm currently calling it Project Phoenix, and it's a high fantasy with a romantic subplot. Okay, as far as word count goes, wait, where am I at? Oh my goodness, I'm currently standing at 54,585 words. So that's solid, that's good. Of course, Alphonse is making his way into the frame, as always. I will say that I'm getting increasingly concerned that this story is getting out of control because it feels like every time I sit down to write, I have all of these ideas, and the scenes that I thought would be, that'll just be like, that'll take like 1,000 words to write. It ends up being like 3 times that, so I'm a little bit nervous. However, I am taking comfort in the fact that there's going to be a lot of scaffolding, a lot of notes to myself that I'll end up deleting, and I'll make the prose more succinct over time. I frankly don't know for sure what the end word count is going to be after all is said and done. I'm shooting for 100,000 words. Might be a little more, might be a little bit less, but as it stands, I'm in the thick of the midpoint. So I started my TrackBear account on, I think December 14th is when I started tracking, and I'm looking at like the graphs and things, and I'm definitely still on track with the goal that I set for myself, which I think was 100K by the end of March. And yeah, since I started my TrackBear account, today is January 12th, so it's been almost a month, not quite a month, just a few days shy. I've tracked 17,985 words in TrackBear, which means that I am about 30% of the way there, because I started the TrackBear account when I was maybe about 40,000 words into the novel as a whole. Or actually, no, I think it was like 38,000 words. Something like that. And now, yeah, I have almost 18,000 words that I've tracked in here that I've written in the last month, which is fantastic because it took me like 6 months to write the first 18,000 words, if we're being honest. So yeah, this is good. This is great. I've made a lot of progress. I honestly have this YouTube channel to thank for a lot of that, because I feel like creating these writing vlogs, even though it takes time to film and edit them, it has kept me accountable. It makes me really excited and inspired to work on my book. This week, I'm gonna be shooting for the same goal as always, which is 4,000 words. It resets every Sunday for me, and today is Sunday, so we're in a fresh week right now. Although I already know beforehand that this week is gonna be a lot, and starting not this week, but the week after that, my work, like my job outside of this, is going to ramp up a lot. So I normally work part-time, but occasionally I have these really intense projects that come up and I end up having to work more than usual. So we'll see if I'll be able to keep up with my writing. But this week, I think I should still do fine. And in fact, I might try to write more than normal so that I can get ahead. There is one more thing that I want to share with you guys. And you might be looking at this and be like, Joy, like, why are you waving a stack of books around? Okay, in the writing space and on authortube, I've been hearing a lot of people discuss vocal training and the idea of reading like a chapter or so of a book that you know, like you like the voice of that book, you like the tone, you like the energy, the vibe, it's exactly or close to what you're trying to emulate in your own writing. And by way of osmosis, whatever words you're digesting, whatever your book diet is, I guess it sort of inevitably affects the way that you write, and I've noticed that in my own writing for sure. So people will select a book or two, or maybe an author in general, where they know, okay, this is the writing style that I want, this is the voice that I want for this book, so I'm gonna read it while I write. You know, I haven't really identified exactly which author or which book I want to emulate, and I don't even know if there is one specifically. A lot of what I'm writing is just the way that I write, the way that I think, at least for this first duology that I'm writing. In the future, maybe I'll be more intentional about that. But I will say I was struck with the idea of, okay, when I read something with really rich language, I end up walking away feeling very inspired and invigorated to write my own words, just because I love beautiful words. I can't get enough of them. And I thought, well, what better way to do that than to just read some poems before I sit down to write. So I'm going to do that every single time I sit down to write this week and see if that's something that I want to incorporate into my routine. I already did it a couple of times last week, and frankly, I loved it. So these are all of the books of poetry that I currently own, and now I want to go out and buy more of them because I want to have some more variety, some more things to choose from. But I'll go ahead and let you know like what all of my books of poetry are, and I might read a few lines here or there like before I write. I don't know. This is American Primitive by Mary Oliver. I'm obsessed with Mary Oliver. I love Mary Oliver to pieces. She's probably one of my favorite poets. Most of her poems, in my experience from reading them, just capture something so raw about humanity, and usually in conjunction with nature. And honestly, like the way that she describes the most ordinary pieces of nature that no one else would notice, it's breathtaking, frankly. And this one is a much larger selection of poems that's called Devotions. The next book of poetry that I have is Rose by Lee Young Lee. A lot of these poems feel more narrative in nature to me. So where Mary Oliver often will just fixate on a single thing and really break it down and analyze it in a beautiful way, Lee seems to capture a lot of memories, if that makes sense. Like that's sort of what I feel like I'm peering into his mind and catching glimpses of his life. Does that make sense? And yeah, his poems are really, really beautiful. My next book of poetry that I own is Wade in the Water by Tracy K. Smith. And she was named the Poet Laureate of the US, I think in 2017. So this happened while I was in college, and I specifically got this book since she was named the Poet Laureate. And I was like, oh, well, like I want to check out her poetry because I was a creative writing major and I was really excited about that. So I'm trying to remember, I don't think that I ever read through this entire book of poetry. I think I only read a few of them here or there, so I don't have a whole lot to say about it at the moment. I was excited, but then I got lost in the ocean of my creative writing assignments and I just never really got around to reading it. But I feel like that's even more exciting for me now because I get to read these poems for the first time. And then the next book that I have, which I also have not read very much of this at all, is just selected poems by E.E. Cummings. And I think that this is actually the only book of poems that I currently own that is on the older side. I think, when was he born? Yeah, Edward Estling Cummings was born in 1894. So not incredibly old, but by comparison with some of these other ones, I feel like these other poems are a little bit more modern, relatively speaking, whereas a lot of his poetry was written in the 1920s. And then, of course, like over the course of the 20th century. But still, like, I feel like this is a very wide breadth of work. And from what I recall, E.E. Cummings has a very interesting style. Oh yeah, I just opened to a random page and I just want to show you. If you're not familiar with E.E. Cummings, yeah. He has a very unique and interesting style and way of breaking down words and language. So yeah, honestly, I feel like I have a fairly wide variety of poems here from people from all different walks of life. It might be nice to grab some poetry books from way earlier that are less modern, and then some that are more recent. I don't know. Honestly, frankly, if you have any recommendations for poetry books that I should buy, I would love to do that because I would love to increase my poetry book collection. So first things first, I'm going to read a couple of lines. I'll pick a couple of poems. I'll read a couple of lines to you, and then I'll get started with writing, and this is what we're gonna do. So if you haven't already, grab yourself a little cozy beverage. If you're folding laundry, do that. That's what I do when I watch videos. I fold laundry or do dishes, but we're gonna have a good time together. Okay, the first poem that I read came from American Primitive by Mary Oliver. I'm going to read a handful of lines from her poem Mushrooms. Mushrooms, rain, and then the cool pursed lips of the wind draw them out of the ground. Red and yellow skulls pummeling upward, through leaves, through grasses, through sand, astonishing in their suddenness and their quietude, their wetness. They appear on fall morning, some balancing in the earth on one hoof, packed with poison, others billowing chunkily and delicious. Are you kidding me? Her word choice is like none other, frankly. There's so many things that I love about this, but she captures mushrooms so perfectly. Astonishing in their suddenness, quietude, wetness. I mean, like, yeah, you go outside and they've just appeared overnight, but that's something that I never would have thought to write about. And then the cool pursed lips of the wind, that personification is perfection. There's so much to love about this, and I find it so inspiring. Next, I'm going to read something from Wade in the Water by Tracy K. Smith. And again, I have not read very many of these, so I don't really know what to expect. Okay, wow. I already know that if I'm needing inspiration for internality, Tracy K. Smith is my gal. Just listen to some of these lines from her poem Garden of Eden. Everyone I knew was living the same desolate luxury, each ashamed of the same things, innocence and privacy. I'd lug home the paper bags, doing bank balance, math, and counting days. I'd squint into it or close my eyes and let it slam me in the face. The known sun setting on the dawning century. You're kidding me. Oh my gosh. So good. So good. Okay, after that, I honestly feel so ready to write and so excited, and I'm really excited to see what happens with this potential new writing process that I'm adopting. So let's write. Friends, I am so cold today. I'm normally an iced coffee girly, but I think the last clip I filmed, I was drinking a hot coffee, and I'm drinking a hot coffee again today. It's another latte. I think it's the same exact thing I made last time. It just feels so warm on my hands. That makes me happy. Sometimes I question why I moved to Ohio. Which, by the way, today is Tuesday, January 14th. So it's been a couple days since I filmed, but I have some things to update you on. So first and foremost, on Sunday during that writing session, I managed to eke out 893 words. So that was solid. And then Monday, yesterday, I wrote 994 words. I know, 6 words short of 1,000, which is a little bit annoying. Actually, I thought that I had written over 1,000 because of the way that Scrivener had counted it. When I entered my total word count in TrackBear, I don't know, I guess I must have deleted some words somewhere since the last time I had tracked. I don't know, regardless, in TrackBear, it said that the difference was only 994 words between the two totals of my rough draft, so it's fine. I specifically kept on writing because I was like, oh, well, I want to hit 1K words for the day if I'm so close already. But no, it was 994 technically added to my project. So that brings the total so far this week to 1,887 words, which is almost halfway through my goal already. And for it being only Tuesday, like I've only written 2 days so far, and I'm going to write again today, I feel like that's good progress. So my hopes and dreams of getting far ahead this week in anticipation of next week, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. The rest of my week is probably going to be kind of busy, but you know, we're closer to fulfilling that hope and dream, I guess. I also may or may not have ordered more poetry books already, and I really hope that they arrive before I'm finished filming this vlog so that I can show them all to you. It would be kind of fun to do a poetry book haul. So stay tuned for that. I hope that that can happen. But I do want to read a little excerpt of the poem that I read yesterday before my writing session. It was by Leung Lee. I read a few of his poems, but this one in particular is called Dreaming of Hair, and I'm just gonna read one stanza to you. Hair spills through my dream, sprouts from my stomach, thickens my heart and tangles the brain. Hair ties the tongue dumb. Hair ascends the tree of my childhood. The willow I climbed, one bare foot and hand at a time, feeling the knuckles of the gnarled tree, hearing my father plead from his window, don't fall. So many of Lee's poems, at least in this collection, are about his family or involve his family, and I just love that relational aspect to it. And he also tends to tie in his childhood, but he presents it in a really surreal way. I mean, you heard that stanza. It was like, what is going on? But it just feels so visceral to me when I read it. And so, I don't know. I thought that that was really fun. I suppose the natural question that follows is, how am I currently feeling about this experimental new process? And honestly, I do think that it's really helping me. It's helping my brain see things in a different light. Especially when you're writing the first draft, it's really easy to default to what you know and to default to the easiest way to explain something. And sometimes for your first draft, you do just need to get the story down. There have been some writing sessions where I've known that I wanted to put in some figurative language, so I'll just honestly bracket it because I can't think of anything at the moment, and I'll just say like, okay, metaphor here to round out this description. But you know, if I'm being honest, the more that I don't have to do that, the easier revisions are going to be, because if I'm revising, I mean, it's just going to take way more brain power to have to think about all of this poetic language that I'm wanting to use as I'm line editing. But if I'm able to come up with things now, I think that that will be easier on my future self. And it also makes me more excited about the work that I'm writing and more proud of it to have a first draft that's coming out a little bit more polished. And again, not that it has to be. In some writing sessions, I'm going to feel a little bit more dry when it comes to coming up with fun ways to say things. But I do think that these poems have served as fuel for me, like creative fuel, because I've noticed a difference. I am using fewer like metaphor brackets and placeholders. And I do try to toe the line between, like, I want my prose to be really readable. I don't necessarily want it to come across as purple prose, even though, hot take, I personally don't really have a problem with purple prose or something that's more literary, as long as it's done in a tasteful way and it's not extremely cringe. I think we've all read something that is very purple prose and very cringe. But I try to keep things down to earth and explain things in a way that aren't challenging to wrap your mind around. Like when you read it, it's unique, it's a different angle, it's a different way of looking at it, but it makes complete sense. I might read a couple short examples from my writing. Not that I think that my writing is all that, like, at all, but just to give you a sense of what I mean. Like, I'm not trying to make my writing needlessly complicated, but I want to communicate things in a fresh way. So, for example, this character was just strangled, and instead of saying, oh, like his throat hurt or it burned, he had a lump in his throat or something like that, I wrote, he felt like he had swallowed rocks. So that's a simile, and it's very simple, straightforward, easy to understand, but I feel like it's a more fresh way of communicating what I mean, and it's visceral. Like, you can imagine what it would feel like to swallow rocks, and you're like, okay, yeah, that sucks. Another very simple line that I wrote last night, but that I like, and I think was inspired by the poetry that I read, was, her body no longer curved in fear. So just choosing curved rather than, I don't know, even something like, she no longer cowered. Like, that's a very straightforward way of communicating it, and that's not bad writing, but I just feel like that's more visual. Her body no longer curved in fear. Like that, I don't know. I like that line, okay? But you know, it's those simple things that are added up over time that I think makes a big difference in your prose and the way that it comes across. And it's not like every single line needs to be the pinnacle of poetry, because this isn't poetry. It's a book, and it should be readable and not like you have to use 5 million brain cells to comprehend it. Because as far as genre goes, I mean, this is fantasy. Brandon Sanderson is very popular right now, and I'm in the middle of reading Mistborn, and as I'm reading it, I'm like, wow, like his tone is so neutral. His prose is just extremely straightforward. He uses very simple words and language, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's his style, and it makes it so that you can really experience the story. For me, I think, I don't know if literary is the right word, but I definitely have a different approach. But I don't want it to be so different that it wouldn't be appealing to my audience. So I don't know, that's just kind of what I'm processing right now. But I do have a small pocket of time during which I would like to write. So I'm gonna quit yapping so that I can get to writing, because my son is napping upstairs and I will have a little bit of peace. And then the rest of my day is just going to consist of cleaning the house, catching up on household things, and I might also need to squeeze in some work for my actual job, but I do have like an hour of quiet flex time, and I'm gonna write with it. Can I sit here with you? Is that okay? Maybe stay. Oh, you're not happy. Do you want to snuggle? You can snuggle. Choked. I've been writing for the past hour or so, give or take a few minutes, I guess. I want to keep going. I'm on a roll a little bit. I mean, there have been some distractions and interruptions, but in general, I am feeling good. And I've written just now 758 words, and that brings my current total, like overall, in my whole project first draft, to 57,230 words. We are over the halfway mark firmly. We have to be. There's no way that I'm not. I hope. Like I said, I wish that I could keep on writing, but I just can't because I have to move on with the day and do other things, fulfill other responsibilities, and it's killing me because I don't want to leave this. What to say about this, honestly. There's a very interesting interaction going on. If you've seen my other videos, I was referring to a new character that I was introducing, like towards the midpoint, that is interesting to say the least. And so, you know, it took me a long time to figure out his voice and exactly what his motives were. Like, I had an idea of his motives, but it was a little bit muddled. But once I established those motives and the character became more real in my mind, oh boy, like this conversation that they're having with him is something else. And the slow burn romance that's been happening in the background, we may or may not have like kind of a confession of love, but like it's not really a confession of love. It's something. It's a confession of something. Okay, there is a moment between the female main character and the male main character because the male main character was injured. I know that there is a trope of like, oh, bandaging their wounds, whatever. It's not exactly that, but the female main character is showing a lot of concern for the male main character's well-being, and they have like a little moment of chemistry. Saying, I don't know, it just, writing this has made me like, it's just so cute. We're also learning some new things. We're heightening the stakes. Characters are growing and changing, and I don't know, I just feel like this is a really fun point in the story. Like, I don't feel like I'm in a middle slump. I feel like this is going great. I hope that this is enjoyable to read because it's really fun to write. I feel like I was gonna say something else, but now I can't remember. Like, while I was making this drink for myself, I had all these plans of what I was gonna talk about once I sat down to chat with you, but it's all gone. It's all vanished out of my brain because I just got caught up talking about the story, and now I'm like staring at my words. But at this point, I only have 1,350 words left that I need to write the rest of this week. Frankly, I would love to write more than that, but it's comforting to know that I'm already so far. I wish I could keep writing. If I get my poetry books in the mail by Friday, then I will show them to you in this vlog. But if not, I'll just pin a comment down below with like the list of the poetry books that I got in case you want to check any of them out. Oh, I just remembered the one other thing I was gonna say. So I got, because there's like a little bit of romantic tension going on, I did pause writing for like 15 or 20 minutes to research slow burn romance. I don't know. I was like, wait, is this, because I've been wanting it to come across as slow burn, but I suddenly got really insecure. I was like, wait a minute, like, is this too many feelings for the middle of the book? Like, I don't know. What are the romantic beats that need to happen for slow burn romance? I mean, obviously a lot of that will get revised later, but for some reason I just couldn't stop thinking about that. So I just looked at a bunch of random articles and Reddit posts and Tumblr things just for a little bit. So that was my diversion, my distraction for the day. I feel like every time I write, I end up going down some sort of rabbit hole at some point during my writing. Frankly, I should probably turn off my internet, but whatever, it's fine. Guys, I have so much to update you on. Today is Saturday, January 18th. And number one, I have officially written all 7 days of this week. Yes, that's great. I have a 7-day streak on TrackBear, which I can't say that I have actually done yet. So wonderful. The other thing is almost all of the poetry books that I ordered came in. So I just want to quickly share them with you. There is one that's missing so far. I mean, I'm sure it'll come later today or tomorrow. It's called Lighthead by, I believe, Terrence Hayes. But I'll show you the rest of the books that I got now. It's quite the poetry book haul. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go like on and on about them. I have read a few of the poems in here throughout this week since some of them arrived sooner than others. But honestly, I barely know anything about these poetry books anyways. But I feel like I have a pretty good mix. The first one is Ariel by Sylvia Plath. I believe this one was published posthumously by her husband. She had a bit of a tragic life. That's pretty much all I know about her, but I have read a handful of her poems in the past. Next is Grand Tour by Elisa Gonzalez. She's a debut poet, and I wanted to purchase a few books by debut poetry authors because honestly, I feel like poetry books don't get a whole lot of love, especially debut authors, so I just wanted to spread the love. Like, if I'm gonna be buying poetry books anyways, I may as well kind of get some fresh blood in the mix, I guess. But honestly, highly recommend this one. I've already read through most of the poems in this book, and I find her highly inspiring. This is a massive tome of a complete collection of Walt Whitman's poetry. I've read lots of his poems in the past, but never all of them. So yeah, this is a thick tome right here. I'm hoping to get lots of mileage out of this one. This one arrived today, so I haven't read any of it yet, but it's The Hurting Kind by Ada Limon. And I believe she was the Poet Laureate of the United States in 2022. So it's gotta be good, right? Next is Lunch Poems by Frank O'Hara. I've just generally heard lots of good stuff about him, even though I don't think I've ever read any of his poetry. This is another debut author. It's called Feast by Ina Carino. I haven't delved into this one yet, but I honestly really like the cover, so it's promising. And last but certainly not least, And Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. Honestly, just classic. Like, if you haven't read Maya Angelou, you're missing out on life. So I'm very excited. And okay, I am so happy that I got all of these poetry books. Still drop down your suggestions down below, especially debut authors or even like self-published poets that you really love. I want to support them if I'm going to be buying poetry books. And I genuinely feel like this has made a huge difference in my writing process, like reading poetry before writing. So it's definitely an ingredient that I plan to incorporate into my writing process from now on. If you do try it, let me know whether or not it works for you, because it definitely is working for me. And I'm just curious to know if it meshes with anyone else or if I'm just weird. I think that it really just reframed my mind, and it just primed me for thinking in a different way. It got my proverbial creative juices flowing to the point where, okay, and this is the most exciting part, okay? As of right now, I am exactly 100 words away from hitting 60,000 words in the first draft of my fantasy book. Oh my gosh. I am so excited to hit this milestone. And it's so surreal to me because I feel like I literally just hit 50,000 words like 3 weeks ago. And here we are. Actually, not even 3 weeks ago. Regardless, I'm already here at 60,000 words. I feel like I'm making so much progress compared to like the rest of my writing year. And I feel like I have this YouTube channel to thank. I have honestly like this new writing process to thank. The fact that I've been joining all of these like live writing sprints and delving into this community. It's been so motivating to keep up with my writing. So I have all of you guys to thank for that. But all that being said, I want to sit here and write until I hit 60K with you guys. I still probably have a good 30 to 40K words to go before I'm done with my first draft, but that's okay. We're pressing on. This is still something that I'm honestly genuinely so excited about. I did it. I just finished the last sentence I was on, and I officially have reached 60,009 words. Ah! I might keep writing it after this today. I don't know. We'll see. Because I really want to edit the video that you're watching right now and put it up today or tomorrow. I also want to go for a run today. So like I have other things I want to do. But I feel like we're at an interesting spot. Oh my gosh, you guys. I am literally so excited. You have no idea. Okay. Oh, I can't believe that I did this week. I did not think this was going to happen, but here we are. Since I'm going to take a break now, I'm going to enter in my progress on a track bear and see where we're at. Oh my gosh, that's so satisfying. All right, this just in officially. Although again, I might write a little bit more today, but we'll see. But my total word count for this week is 5,424 words, which is far and above my normal goal of 4,000 words. So that's exciting. Since I've started tracking, it says that my average pace so far has been 616 words per day. And I'm honestly really proud of that because I've been tracking for 38 days. So that means 38 days in a row. Now, obviously, I haven't been writing every single day, but my average after over a month is 616 words a day towards this draft. I don't think you understand how happy that makes me because I wasn't sure if I would be able to do it, but here we are. Thank you so much for joining me. This was a really fun week and I am feeling more excited about my writing than ever. I really hope that maybe this is inspiring to you. Let me know if you do end up trying out like reading poetry before writing. Again, I am really curious to see if that works for anyone else. If you made it to the end of this video, maybe put down one of those like writing emojis. I don't know, that feels appropriate because this week was a really good writing week for me. If you're interested in my writing journey and you want to keep following along, please feel free to subscribe. That would be super helpful for my channel. And I hope that whatever creative endeavor that you've set your heart on will go well for you and that you will flourish. And I hope that the rest of your day is wonderful. Bye!